leaning toward Russia as the culprit behind the destruction of Ukraine's dam and hydroelectric power plant in the early hours of June 6th, according to a report by NBC. Well, hey, if NBC said it, then it must be true.
So where did NBC get the data to put in their report? From the CIA.
Yeah.
Where did the CIA get their data? From their visceral hatred of all things Russian. I mean, it's a farce that people would believe this. There you go. It's a farce. But by the way, Gerald, these covers are unbelievably good.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, that's what it is. So now Russia's response. The sabotage has the potential to cause very serious consequences for tens of thousands of the region's residents, environmental consequences, and consequences of another nature. The Kremlin spokesman also called it unmistakable that one of the goals of this act of sabotage was to deprive Crimea of water. Quote, the water level in the reservoir is dropping, hence the water supply to the North Crimean Canal is dramatically reduced. Apparently, the sabotage is also due to the fact that having launched large-scale offensive operations 2 days ago, Ukrainian armed forces have been unable to achieve their aims. The operations are stalled, the spokesman said.
Wow. So NBC and company would have us believe that the Russians are trying to take water away from Crimea, which has been part of Russia since 1730.
Yeah.
And the American public will accept that. The American public is generally not well schooled on geography or geology, and they'll accept what the media says, particularly when it's a drumbeat, when all the media is saying effectively the same thing. So I guess to the Ukrainians, this is the opening blow of their so-called spring offensive. McGregor argues that they are totally unprepared for a spring offensive, but they've been promising it to the West for so long that they're probably going to have some false fits and starts, and this may be one of them.
Well, again, as I see it, this is a continuing escalation, and there's going to be a major false flag event that happens that's going to get the people to keep supporting this bloody war, and it's going to continue to escalate. Yes. As I say, when all else fails, they take you to war. And there it is. And, right. And we're looking now at the economies around the world the World Bank came out just yesterday with negative news about GDP growth across the globe. And so, again, you go back to what followed the Great Depression, World War II, what followed the dot-com bust, the war on terror. And I believe that, again, as you said, the people only read the headlines. They don't know the data, and the headlines are all propaganda headlines. So when they're ready to go to war against Russia, the people will swallow it.
The danger with a protracted war like this is a couple of dangers here. As recently as 6 days ago, Secretary of State Blinken, speaking in Helsinki, reiterated the American nonsense that Putin is losing, Putin's going to lose, and we're in this war. We're there to back the Ukrainians for as long as it takes.
Yep.
They have no exit ramp. They have no way out of it. What does a protracted war mean? It eventually, look at history, it eventually leads to escalation, to heavier military equipment and the involvement of more people. When Viktor Orban, the president or the prime minister of Hungary, which is a member of NATO, was asked, why are you opposed to this? And he said, well, my heart goes out for the Ukrainian people, but this is not a war that they can win. This war should end immediately. Yep. And I'm not going to lift a finger to extend the war. I don't want Russian boys to die any more than I want Ukrainian boys to die. The questioner says, what about NATO, Orban? Look at the facts. NATO's heart is not in this. If it were, you'd see NATO troops on the ground, and you don't.
Wow. And again, what the hell are we doing in NATO? That's none of our business. That was
Agreed.
the thing should have been gone a long time ago.
We've only had one president in the post-World War II era oppose us being involved in NATO, and I wish he had carried through on his threat to leave, and that's Trump. Listen, I disagree with a lot of things about Trump, but on this, I profoundly agree with him. I also profoundly agree with him that we don't belong sending military equipment to Ukraine.
Oh, yeah. Again, we wrote about this going back over a decade ago in the Trends Journal, No Need for NATO. You know, we've been writing about this. And again, what what Orban said about not being involved in this and to stop it because of the bloodshed, the numbers are coming out that half of the Ukrainian population is gone out of the country. I mean, they're escaping like crazy. Could you imagine every day waking up and not knowing whether or not there's a bomb's going to drop on you?
Right. Where are they going? They're going to Poland. They're going to Romania. They're trying to go to Hungary. He's doing his best to keep a lid on things. I wish more of these European leaders thought about war the way he did. And the interviewer said, I don't know how old Orban is, but the interviewer said, you saw pictures as a boy in 1956 of Soviet tanks in Budapest. And he said, yes, I did. That was the Soviet Union. This is Russia. Russia's a prosperous trading partner. This is not the Soviet Union of old. The American foreign policy establishment needs to recognize that.
Yeah, this is really, again, what no one is also talking about is how this has destroyed Ukraine's economy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Gerald, guess who's going to rebuild it?
Yeah.
The American taxpayer.
Yep.
Not the present generation of American taxpayers, because they don't have the cash. They'll borrow the money, and the great-grandchildren of Gen X, human beings as yet unborn, 50% of their tax revenue will be going to pay interest on debt incurred today. You probably know this better than I, what Janet Yellen has borrowed since Biden signed the debt bill, or what her goal to borrow in 1 week, $1 trillion. You know what that's going to do to interest rates? She's going to borrow $1 trillion in 1 week. She's going to have to offer huge interest rates to get that kind of cash.
Yeah, there's your cover of the Current Trends Journal.
There it is.
Just more babble. Yep. No, this is a clown show. Look at the people you mentioned. Earlier you mentioned Lindsey Graham. How can anybody quote that little jerk, arrogant boy? There's not a war he didn't love. Look at this little clown of nothing. And he's quoted all the time like he's some brilliant, And then the other one you mentioned, Blinken, a little daddy's boy. An arrogant, I went to Dalton. I went to Harvard. Don't you know who my daddy was? Every damn war that little boy loved. And these guys couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Anybody that supports war, put on your costume, go over there and go fight. Send your money, send your wife, your kids, your partners, or whatever. Go there or shut your mouth. That's the way I see it. You support it, you go there. You support it, you go there, or shut your mouth.
Well, these are big government guys who want to tell the rest of us how to live. I mean, Lindsey Graham said to Lindsey Graham said
the article you wrote. They're telling us how to live, how to think, what we can do. Our freedom has been stolen from us.
Oh, and they're also telling us what we can't say.
That's right. I forgot. I fuck out. Here, remember. Here we are.
Gerald, your audiences love you.
And this is from my cousin Liz. That's her idea, the back of the shirt. Yep. I mean, who are these little clowns to tell us what to do?
Well, if Lindsey Graham said directly to President Zelensky, killing Russians is the best money we ever spent.
Yep. Best money we ever spent. The best money you stole from we the people who work like crazy, and you're robbing us of our, not of our only of our money, but of our morality.
Yes.
And morality
they have no sense of the Blinken, Biden, Lindsey Graham, even going back to George W. They have no sense of morality.
None.
They don't believe in natural rights. They don't believe in right and wrong. They just believe in power.
Yep.
Phil Geraldi, whom you and I know well, is going to be on Judging Freedom with me, I think at 3:00 this afternoon. Phil,
folks, Judging Freedom. Make sure you go there. And Geraldi's, what a man he is, a real man of honor, a former CIA top guy that went into George Bush's office with the facts that there were no weapons of mass destruction. And Bush told him to leave the office, and Geraldi quit the CIA.
And then Bush went out and had Colin Powell address the UN, effectively the world. We all watched the speech.
Yep. I remember
lying through his teeth, something he would eventually admit before he died, but the damage was done.
You're holding up a little piece of colon crap.
Yeah.
Remember that? A little vial of nothing. This is proof. And the people swallowed it.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks
so
a lot.
Again, it's not to this mentality, and it's in both political parties. It's the big government party. It's the national security state party. It's the state secrets party. It's the welfare state party. There is no right or wrong. It's just power.
That's it. They're power freaks in charge. Hey, Eisenhower said it. Any man who seeks the office of president is either crazy or an egomaniac. And most of them fit that.
Yes.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Judge. See you next week.
Gerald.
And don't forget, everyone, Judging Freedom. You got to watch the judge, what he's doing, the people he has on, nothing like it. Thanks so much, Judge.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best.